There are some things in life that you will never forget. Whether it be the day of 9/11 or that special getaway with friends. Or maybe it's the very first day of your very first job, or maybe even your wedding day. Like, I want you guys all to stop and really think about it for a second. These are all moments and memories that we all cherish, right? Whether it's your graduation day or that day that you finally accomplished that one dream or goal you worked so hard to achieve. Or maybe it's that feeling being in a nice warm bed on an ice cold night. Or maybe it's that feeling waking up a little bit too early, but you looked over at the clock and see you still had an extra hour to sleep. Or maybe it was that day that you stood up to that bully, even though you felt a little silly, but it just had to be done. Now, do you feel me? Or maybe it was the first time you fell in love while being loved and expressing love back to the ones who matter most. Or maybe it was that first kiss that just felt so bliss, it had you whispering sweet words in her ear about how much you miss this feeling in your life. How could you forget? Because see, it's usually that first kiss that cultivates itself into a deep kiss, which in all fairness makes us all reminisce about that first time we fell into that abyss. See, there are some things in life that you will never forget. And for me, it is that look in her eyes. That look in her eyes when she is offering love and not expecting anything back. That look in her eyes that gives off a radiance of laughter and love that's more addicting than crack. That look of understanding in her eyes, because no matter how lost and alone you feel in this world, and you feel like no one can accept you for who you really are, she does. That look of patience in her eyes, because you know you get on the last damn nerves, but she still loves you no matter what. And that look of laughter and joy in her eyes that gives you that reassurance that if nobody has your back, she does. And that look in her eyes that gives you a sense of an unconditional love that no words can ever describe. But now it's gone. See, that look in her eyes that used to be filled with so much laughter and love is now empty. See, there are some things in life that you will never forget. And for me, it is that look in her eyes. That look in her eyes because I lied too many times. That look in her eyes because I messed up more times than I can count. That look in her eyes because I made more second promises than ever sticking to my first. That look in her eyes because I always asked for just one more chance, but she knew in her mind I was just saying some rhymes to make her seem blind. That look of disappointment in her eyes because I'm no longer the man she once knew. That look of sadness in her eyes because she put too much trust into this boy. And that look of pain in her eyes, because no matter how much I beg, no matter how much I cry, her heart will forever be tainted. And that look in her eyes, because every teardrop was a representation of a promise that I broke. And that look in her eyes as she looked into my eyes and knew this might be the last time she ever sees me. But see, every time I looked into her eyes, they were never the eyes I really wanted. When I looked into her eyes, it was the eyes of a mother when I really needed my father. That's why I wandered the streets looking into the eyes of every man I came across, trying to gain the knowledge of what it means to be a man. But except it led me to this, standing here looking into the eyes of my mother as I'm being arrested for 2 felonies. No matter how much she fought, no matter how much she tried, no matter how much she tried to cover my eyes from the world around me, I was constantly looking for the eyes of a man whose eyes I've never seen before. I feel like I've just hung myself within a umbilical cord of my mother's own love. There are some things in life that you will never forget. And for me, it is that look of disappointment in my mother's eyes.